Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Landry.
And I'm Shay.
And it is Thanksgiving week. Yay!
Yay! Happy Thanksgiving!
Woohoo! One thing I saw, they did capture them, but did you see this? One of the Slenderman killer?
Yes, I was going to talk about that.
Yeah. Did you look up a lot of it? I didn't really look up a lot of it.
So she cut off her GPS anklet, and she lives at a group home, and she cut off her GPS and ran away from the group home with some person.
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't know that they found her, so I'm glad that they found her.
I saw that just this morning whenever I was on my way up in here. Yeah.
I saw it this morning when I was scrolling. Yeah, I was like, damn, gosh, she crazy.
Yeah, because I screenshotted it last night to say something because I saw it yesterday. Because I think it came out yesterday.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. We didn't really touch that topic too much. I mean, we kind of talked about Slenderman and touched on
We've mentioned
the
it.
murder.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I want to go over it or not, since we've talked about the
basics.
Bulk of it so much already. But I don't know, maybe
I feel a lot of my episodes round back.
Yeah,
where I'm I've done Ouija board episodes, but then when I talk about divination, I still talked about
that's
one of those stories again.
That's true.
All my mineral well stories, they just recap and people love it.
People be loving mineral wells. I'm like, damn.
Do you see what that TikTok's at right now?
No.
Over 40,000 views again.
Damn.
All of our mineral wells TikToks go viral. So note to self, if you want to go viral, post about mineral wells.
Just don't steal our thunder.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that other one for mineral wells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a little bit of information just from my brother-in-law that I can share with you about it.
Oh, great. So wonderful.
Just give you a little bit.
Yeah,
little tidbits on it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
One other thing I feel like maybe we should mention at the beginning, just in case people don't make it all the way to the end for some odd reason. That since it is Thanksgiving week, we're only going to put out one episode this week. I have to work on Thanksgiving anyways, which is the day that an episode would come out. And, it's the holidays and we have big families and we have lots of stuff to do this week. So we're going to put out one episode and then we'll catch back up next week and go back to 2.
Yeah, be right back at it. Take a little break for our little brains. Shay needs one. She's exhausted. Yes. She's surviving. You're surviving.
I'm surviving.
I don't know how you're going to add in more college to this. You're going to be warned.
It's going to be so fun.
She's like, I'm so busy. And I'm like, I have all the time in the world.
I'm so busy, but I'm going to do more stuff. It's okay. My car's in the shop right now. I don't know why.
What are you driving?
Well, I have my husband's truck that I was going to drive to work today, but they are giving me a loaner.
So you have to
so I'm going to go pick it up on the way so that I don't have to drive his truck to Fort Worth.
Yep. Wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, me neither.
Brand new too.
It's brand spanking new.
No way. And it's just bigger. It's not what you're used to.
Yeah, it's hard to park in that little garage. Yeah. Anyway, I'm struggling today. Struggling today.
Yeah, today's been a day already for me as well. Oh, also at the end, if you want to stick around, I asked Shay to kind of pull together a few things she's thankful for this last year. And I have a few things, just nothing crazy. It's just a little bit of chit chat, saying a few things we're thankful for when it comes to our lives, the podcast, things like that. So
yeah, it's just good, lighthearted stuff.
Yeah, I don't feel like we always get sentimental.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We cry all the time.
Sorry for making you all cry last week, by the way.
Yeah. We all cry. And I think we got a lot of whoever's, what was their name? The story for Peanut.
Laurel,
your story got a lot of people's heartstrings.
Yeah, girl.
Because we had a lot of people comment and they were like, we love Peanut.
We love Peanut. I do. I love Peanut. I was showing everybody pictures of Peanut this week.
Oh, myself is my brain, what?
Hello?
My anxious little brain here. That's what I was going for there. We know how much anxiety I have. Now I'm staring at little dog. And yesterday she was drinking a ton of water and going to the bathroom over and over and over again. But I think it's because the day before we were at Murphy's house and she didn't have her usual
routine
source of water and sleep and going to the bathroom. But I was like, ma'am, do you need to go to the vet tomorrow? Are we going to the vet tomorrow? Or are we going today? So she's probably going to go to the vet soon. Just get her checked over.
If you have diabetes, just tell me.
Yeah, let me know. I had a dog that did have diabetes. Sophie died from diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
And she did the same thing.
Oh,
drinking the water.
Soph a loaf.
Little fat ass. That's what we called her. We
Yeah.
called her fat ass, literally.
Yeah, no, literally.
So then one time, mom got a call from school that I'd called someone a fat ass whenever I was in like kindergarten.
She's like,
I'm
don't
not
worry.
that mean. Well, I don't know. I am that mean, I guess. I don't know. Anyways,
Back in the day.
I was like, I didn't do that. And my mom was like, you're probably the only kid that would do that considering we call our dog Fat Ass. So it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no.
Was me.
You're a liar. So this week, while most people are thinking of turkey, stuffing, and long family tables, I am thinking about Thanksgiving and how it is rooted in the early colonization, survival, and complicated relationships between settlers and indigenous people.
Ooh, okay.
So I am going to a story that predates Plymouth, predates the Mayflower, and predates everything associated with Thanksgiving, yet is deeply connected to the themes of migration, survival, cultural conflict, and the fragile attempt to build a new life in an unfamiliar world. That means that today we are diving into the haunting mystery of Roanoke Island, the Lost Colony.
I am so excited to hear about this.
I have always known about it, but I guess I've always confused it with like a lot of different things. Like when I was learning about it, I was like, I guess I didn't know that part. Okay.
I know about it also. I learned about it in college history actually, which was very interesting, but I'm excited to hear about it like this because let's be really and truly honest, I wasn't paying attention in school because I wasn't going to school to be a history major, so I didn't care.
No. Do what you gotta do to get through the class.
I had to pass the class, I had to pass the test, and that's all that I cared about. But so I know about it, and I know the main piece of it, but I have no idea about any other part of it.
Yeah, for me, I think the answer is very clear as to where the colonists went, which I'll get there. But I think it's a pretty clear answer. I just think that they say it's unsolved because there's no full-on proof. There's no absolute certainty
about where they went.
Yeah, but I'm like, the answer seems pretty clear to me.
All right, let's get into it. So yeah.
But there's also parts of it I did not realize either. So to truly understand Roanoke, we need to understand the world that created it. In the 1580s, England was desperate. Spain had built a wealthy empire in the New World. France was pushing into Canada, and Portugal had territories all across the globe. So whenever I was researching this, it said Spain had empires already in America, and I was like, what? I'm confused by that. And it's actually just South America, Mexico area, things like that. Because I was like, that doesn't track. That doesn't track for me for history. So I did look into that, and that's what that is. England, though, had almost no presence in the New World, and Queen Elizabeth I knew that if England didn't establish a settlement soon, they might never catch up. She wanted a foothold in the New World where she could build a port, intercept Spanish ships, expand trade, and spread English power. So she granted Sir Walter Raleigh the authority to explore and colonize lands across the Atlantic. And her actual patent to him said something along the lines of exploring heathen lands, which is not very nice.
No, girl.
Yeah, not a very good descriptive way, but that was what her patent had actually not verbatim, but said. So Raleigh, though, was not an explorer. He was actually just an influential nobleman in Queen Elizabeth's inner circle. So rather than go do the hard work himself, he hired people to do the work and directed the project from afar. He basically was the money for this project. Mm-hmm. So in April of 1584, two captains, Philip Amadas.
1584.
Yeah.
Wild.
See, and that's where I was like, okay, but how did Spain already have an empire in the New World? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Hello?
But I was thinking North America, and it's basically all South America. But I guess that was all considered the New World because you had to, whatever. It blows my mind because I never think this far into history for America, really. I think this far into history when I go over Scottish lore and things like that, but don't really think this far for America. And then when I think that far for America, I'm like, we are such assholes. We were so mean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're the worst.
I know. And then it gets me. I'm like, when then we're like, this is our land. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Literally never was.
No. We maybe have built or created some parts of this world, but no.
So try again.
This makes me feel like an ass. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't even do this. This is not my fault.
This has nothing to do with me.
And that's on empathy. But in April of 1584, two captains, Philip Amadas and Arthur Barlow, landed on the coast of modern-day North Carolina and described the region as beautiful, fertile, welcoming, and full of potential. They met indigenous people from the Secatan and Croatoan tribes, who initially treated them with curiosity and hospitality. These early encounters were peaceful and promising. They all got along great. They were interested in learning about one another and one another's culture. There was no hostility. It was a great little meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the two men returned to England with stories of abundant resources and friendly tribes, Raleigh saw an opportunity to organize a second voyage back overseas. And in this voyage, he wanted to attempt to build a real settlement. So he had already sent them over. So that's the first voyage, is these people go over there. It's nice. It's luscious. They're like, we could totally survive here.
Yeah.
So then they send a second expedition. And this expedition in 1585 was not a colony, though. It was not like a familial colony. It was military people. So he sent troops, not settlers yet.
Okay.
And it was like around 600 of them were called to go there, but only 108 of them like actually made it there. I don't think they died, or like some of them probably passed away just voyage wise.
On the trip.
But for the most part, there was wars going on between like England and maybe Spain. There was some wars going on to where their fleets would get kind of redirected, and storms also caused some problems. So only 108 of the men actually landed in North Carolina, or what is now North Carolina. So they were all soldiers, craftsmen, and adventurers, and they were led by Sir Richard Grenville, back to the New World. And so he is actually said to be the cousin of Raleigh. Okay. So upon arrival, Grenville helped set up fort, dropped off supplies, and then promptly left to raid Spanish ships because he was, what do they call, self-proprietors or something like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of noblemen back then were just like, they would just go like raid shit, and that's how they made their money. Privateers. They're
like, bye, I got shit to do. See ya.
Basically what he did. He said, here you go. Peace. So then he left the leadership to Governor Ralph Lane, and he was a brilliant man, but he was super paranoid and very aggressive. So Lane interpreted almost every indigenous act as a threat. There was a single silver cup that went missing, and Lane responded by burning an entire indigenous village to the ground.
Sir.
Rather than like do some peacekeeping, ask if they're even the ones who stole it. It was probably a child. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not children in the village at this point in time, but there's probably children of like the indigenous people. Either way, like some questions, some fact finding first. Let's not just like burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. So that was kind of a turning point for the relationships between the Native Americans and colonists. Clearly, I would, as a native, be like, get away from
insane.
me. Yeah. That's crazy. So what had begun as a friendly relationship between the English and the tribes turned into fear and hostility. So the people the English depended on for food, trade, and survival suddenly had no reason to trust them, because at first they were giving them like their corn and teaching them how to build traps for fish and showing them how to survive in this world. And then they're like, actually, never mind.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that anymore. So tensions rose, supplies dwindled, and Lane's paranoia began to spiral. Eventually, he orchestrated killing the chief, Wingina? I'm sorry, guys. But he killed the chief, who was a respected leader and had warned Lane of an upcoming winter that it would be difficult. But Lane took this as a threat, not as a warning, so he decided to kill him and destroy whatever diplomatic hope had remained.
That was smart on your part, sir.
Yeah, kill the one person who's actually trying to be nice to you.
Who's going to get you through the winter?
Yeah.
Yeah, try again.
Yep. Well, didn't work for him. Jesus. So by summer of 1586, the colonists were exhausted, starving, isolated, and surrounded by tribes who no longer saw them as guests, but as violent invaders. When Sir Francis Drake arrived after raiding the Caribbean, he offered the men a ride home, and they took it without hesitation. So Sir Francis Drake was also, he's a very, you should have heard his name. It should sound in your brain, but he was another privateer who was just out raiding ships and stuff. But it's actually believed that Roanoke was probably put where it was for him, kind of, because he was such like a popular guy, I guess, that he would need somewhere to like stop by.
Okay.
So they took with him, they abandoned the fort and sailed back to England. When Grenville returned not long after with more supplies, he found that the settlement was empty. And to keep England's claim on the land, he left 15 men behind. But those 15 men vanished too and were likely actually just killed for Lane's brutality in the beginning. So the next year, Raleigh tried again. But this time, the group he sent was completely different. Instead of soldiers, the 1587 colonists consisted of families. There were 115 men, women, and children that were all led by John White, who was an artist and a map maker with a gentle personality and a far better diplomatic instinct than Lane. So John White, I do believe, if he was not on the first voyage over there as well, he was in that second group where the soldiers and the hostility and all of that was occurring. John White, did I say John Lane? I don't know.
No.
John White was in that group. Mm-hmm. And it is said that he was one of the people that was really interested in the Native Americans and understanding their culture and understanding, there was sayings that a lot of their things merged. Like a lot of the Puritan beliefs were the same as Native American beliefs, just different, but like they had the same respect for like heaven and God and eternity and things like that. And so he was really interested in learning about them. There was a point in time where he was trying to teach them English and they were trying to teach him, their languages. But he was with, from what I understand, the Algonquin tribes and the Croatoan tribes. He had made friends with both of them. And he had one person from each tribe that was almost like their mediator, kind of. And so it's said that whenever they left, that whenever they left with Sir Francis Drake and went back to England, that the mediator kind of guy he had from the Croatoan tribe actually went back to England with him to see England.
Oh, okay.
But the Algonquin tribe at that point in time was not happy with them. And the guy that was actually like the mediator there split up and chose his tribe. Like, I'm not doing this. But the other man that was the Croatoan tribe was actually stayed pretty mutual. So he went back. And then whenever they came back over, when John White came back over, the mediator, I should have gotten his name, but he came back with them as well. So this one was actually meant to be a true and peaceful settlement. And John White actually used his mentor to forge relationships again with at least the Croatoan tribes. So he at least had made allies with the Croatoan tribes again. And like they signed a treaty, they made new rules. He was like, I'm not going to be like that. Don't worry. Yeah. We can be friends. And he kind of was trying to do that with other places, but it wasn't really working that well. And they were still kind of attacking the colonists for prior actions. And it just didn't work how he wanted to. But he did kind of mend fences with the Croatoans at least. Okay. So their instructions were actually to settle in Chesapeake Bay, where there was more fertile land and the hostile tensions between tribes was lower. But their ship's pilot refused to take them that far, claiming the season was too late and the waters were too dangerous. So he just dropped them right back off at Roanoke. So to some people, they were like, that was doomed from the beginning. I don't know what you expected to come out of that. So he just dropped them right back off with peace. See ya. Yeah, I'm not going any further than that. So the settlers found the old fort abandoned and decaying. The relationships with the tribes were complicated. Some were open to trade while others still carried resentment. Supplies were already low and the environment was unforgiving. But the settlers decided to stay. They repaired the structures they could, built new ones, and tried to establish peace. That summer, John White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to the very first English child born in the New World, and her name was Virginia Dare. So it's supposed to be this sign of like hope. We can do this. This is awesome. Yeah. And it's like her birth symbolized a fresh start and a chance for the colony to succeed where the last one had failed. But by late 1587, supplies were now running dangerously low. So the settlers begged John White to go back. It was said that like many of the other people were like willing to go back, but they didn't want to leave their families to go back. And so they were like, John, you have to go. You're the leader. You're in charge. Like, you've got to go back. Yeah. Please just do that. And so he was like, I guess I will, even though I don't really want to leave my daughter or my granddaughter. Like, I don't want to do that. But he did. So White intended to actually return very quickly. He was like, I'm going to go get the supplies we need and I'm going to be right back. But I think their original voyage was like 78 days there. So I would assume his voyage would have been expected to be like 60 to 100 days probably there and probably 60 to 100 days back, which is quite a while. Yeah. But he sailed straight into a storm of political turmoil. England was preparing for war against the Spanish Armada, so every ship was seized for military use. White begged for a ship to return to his daughter in the colony, but he was denied. He tried again, and he was denied. So finally, after 3 long years, he returned to Roanoke in 1590. Damn. So what was supposed to be like a quick voyage for supplies turned into 3 years. Ooh, ouch. So when White stepped back onto the island, the settlement was deserted, but not destroyed. There were no bodies and no signs of struggle or no charred buildings. It is said that initially the night that he came in, his ship was too large to go down like the canal, so he was going to have to take like a canoe to get further inland. So he got in and he could see smoke off in the distance and he was like, yay, they're still here. Everything's going to be great. And then whenever he got there the next morning, it had just been like a grass fire. And then this whole entire town that he had helped build, it wasn't demolished. It was like disassembled nicely. Yeah. Like there wasn't shit scattered. There was no bodies anywhere just laying about. Like it was just deserted basically.
Everybody was just gone.
Yeah. And it was said that a lot of the ways that the structures were built were built where they could be disassembled easily in case they needed to move quickly. And so it was like everything was kind of just like disassembled, but nicely. The only thing that remained was like the fort walls that they had built. Everything else was like, I don't want to say all of the building supplies were gone, but it was like just like little things were left. But it wasn't like deserted, hastily thrown. Nothing was like burned and charred or anything like that. It was just there. White then saw the word Croatoan carved into one of the wooden posts, and near it, there were 3 letters carved also into a tree that just said CRO. And so it's why they did it twice. Not really sure. For me, I'm like, I bet they started on the tree and realized they couldn't spell the whole word. So then they went somewhere they could spell the whole word.
Yeah.
For me, at least. But he had agreed before leaving that if they had moved, they needed to carve where they were going. But if they were leaving under like distress or duress, panicking, to leave a cross.
Okay.
So they didn't leave a cross.
Yeah.
And everything looked nice and clean. But White believed his family was still alive, and he insisted the crew sail to the Croatoan Island, which was just a little bit further up, and is now known as Hatteras. Like today, it's called Hatteras Island. And it's the home of the tribe that the English had good relationships, which was the Croatoan tribe. But before the ship could leave, a violent storm hit, breaking the ship's anchors, so the captain refused to risk another attempt at sailing further. Against White's desperate protests, the ship abandoned the search and returned to England. White would never see his daughter, granddaughter, or any member of the colony again, and he died years later, never knowing what happened to them. Isn't that horrible?
Yeah.
So, one of the most widely supported theories, and the one that many archaeologists cautiously lean towards, is that the colonists didn't vanish at all. And in recent years, there's actually been a map that was found. So John White, as I had mentioned, was an artist, a map maker, which meant he was a cartographer. And he had made a very detailed map, which people to this day are like, I don't know how you detail something like that. Like, you're not tracing over Google Earth. Like, how did he do that? And so he had made a map of like all the islands where the whole entire, not the whole seaboard, but a very large area of the seaboard. And in one of the canals at the very end, map makers in like 2012, just recently, found that he had actually covered up part of that map with another piece of paper and like colored it to where it looked like the same, because back then he's not going to redraw a whole map. He's just going to cover it up. But they used lights and went underneath it, and they found a shape of like a star. And I think it was blue with red outlines, meaning that it was most likely a fort. And that is where the modern day Croatoan tribes, or not modern day, but the Croatoan tribes were. And so he had covered it up, and then an invisible ink had written on top of that, but they don't want to like ruin the map to figure out exactly what it was. But it's like the exact same thing, just another like fort symbol. And so there's questions on what he was covering up or why he covered it up. But it would make perfect sense that they just assimilated it into the Croatoan tribe, especially since it was on a map like that. But still to this day, no one really knows if that's what that even meant on the map. But they did discover that.
Interesting.
In 2012, which I say recently because it's not the 1580s.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
This discovery of that exact thing only furthers the support and the theory that the colonists had integrated with the Croatoan tribe and that they blended into the community. The theory is grounded in physical evidence and not just speculation either. So excavations on Hatteras Island have uncovered a surprising number of English-made items: gun parts, iron tools, the hilt of a rapier. So like the little swords they use. One of the hilts, like it dates back to the time frame of the colonists. And so there was also pieces of Elizabethan era pottery and a writing slate carved with English lettering. What makes these artifacts so compelling is how they were found also. They weren't just clumped together like loot taken from a destroyed settlement. So they weren't just like in a bag all together in one spot.
Yeah.
They were scattered across domestic indigenous sites, mixed in with the household debris, cooking tools, ornaments, and everyday objects. So it looks like they actually were items that had been used.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that indigenous people didn't know how to use all these tools, but it wasn't their usual tools. So who's to say they would be the ones that took it and then used it?
Yeah.
I mean, that still could be part of the theory, is that they actually just took it all and then used it, or they were taught how to use it by them assimilating together.
Correct.
So the wear and tear patterns show long-term ordinary use. These aren't archaeologist Why is this? I thought I was going to do good today. I
You're
was
doing
feeling
great.
good. I'm even reading slow.
You're doing so good.
They believe that the Croatoan people and the Roanoke settlers likely interacted more peacefully than the English would like to admit. And when John White first visited the Croatoan years earlier, he did describe them as friendly and cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
If the colonists fled Roanoke in desperation, starving, unarmed, and short on supplies, the Croatoan would have been their most logical refuge. Oral traditions from descendants on the island even describe ancestors with light hair, English features, or stories of the white people who've come to live among us. So saying that the tribes have stories of that. In this interpretation, the lost colony did not die. It simply transformed, absorbed into indigenous life, adopted new customs, languages, and identities. So Roanoke didn't end. It changed names, changed faces, and lived on in a quiet and unrecorded way. But not all the tribes near Roanoke were friendly, and that leads to another major theory, that some colonists may have moved inland and encountered hostile tribes seeking retribution for the violence that was once committed by Ralph Lane. So Lane's actions, which was burning villages, stealing food, murdering the chief, had a long-lasting consequence. So when John White returned in 1590, the Croatoan tribe, when they did their little peace treaty, did actually say, yeah, those 15 men that were left, they were killed by another tribe. And so that was part of like the pact they made was, I guess, to be like honest with each other, because he wasn't sure if they just like passed away or what exactly happened.
Yeah, where they went.
But they're like, yeah, no, it was another tribe. So if the settlers did try and move inland under these conditions, it's fair to say that they would have been attacked by other tribes. And there's some people, because there's some people who think that maybe they broke off into groups trying to survive.
Yeah.
And that's why there's no mass graves found, basically, because the soil out there is very acidic and would just like basically decompose everything it could. And yeah, and quick, but in like smaller groups. So that's why they think that that could be an outcome as well.
Okay.
And then another theory replaces conflict with something more indifferent, which is just starvation and disease. And using tree ring studies, scientists discovered that the Roanoke colonists faced one of the worst droughts in over 800 years. The rivers had dried up, the crops had failed, and hunters found little game. Fishing, which should have been reliable, now became unpredictable due to shifting water. And then the settlers were already low on supplies when White left, and they most likely would have struggled pretty quickly. So starvation affects the mind long before the body, and it causes confusion, paranoia, impaired judgment, and hallucinations. In these conditions, the colony may have split into small groups, each trying to find food, safety, or alliance with different tribes, which again would mean that they all died separately, and that's another reason they couldn't be found. So it's almost the same as just breaking off into small groups and dying naturally. I also think they probably could have broken off into small groups, and some of them probably went and lived somewhere else, and some of them probably did die in the small groups if they didn't all go together. Because I really don't know how 115 of them would have traveled together without like a ship. Like that would have been, I don't know how long the distance was, but that seems a little unlikely to me.
Yeah, there would have had to have been like groups that went,
Yeah, like
women and children first.
Yeah. And there's a different theory, and it's that the colonists may have tried to build their own vessel. So several English tools were missing from the Roanoke site, ones that would be used for carpentry or ship repair. This has led some researchers to suspect that the colonists attempted to construct a small boat using scavenged materials from their homes, and their plan may have been to sail up the coast, reach the Chesapeake Bay, or even attempt to possibly journey back to England. The problem with this is that the surrounding water of the Outer Banks are infamous and are called the graveyard of the Atlantic for a reason. Hundreds of ships have broken apart there, and even trained navigators struggle with the shifting sands, violent storms, and unpredictable currents. So a handmade makeshift vessel probably would not have lasted very long, and the colonists might have died at sea, if not just out in the water in the bay. But I still feel like at least one of them would have survived.
Yeah, or like something would have been like found, like proving that by this point,
Yeah, something. I don't know. It's a weird theory. I don't think I like that theory as much, because I still go back to CRO and Croatoan carved into the trees and into the like a post.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest.
It just makes sense.
Part of the whole like story.
Yeah.
That it's like, well, did they take them? Did they go with them? Did they kill them all? Like,
yeah, which is it?
They have to be involved some way.
Yeah, why would you just write that down?
Yeah.
So then there's also the theory that there was Spanish interference. So Spain and England were enemies and on the brink of war in the 1580s. So Spanish ships patrolled the Atlantic, and Spain knew that England did try to establish a colony. And Spanish spies had reported on Roanoke's location and documents that were found. So some historians think Spain might have taken action and captured the settlers or killed them or forced them into servitude. But the problem with this is that Spain kept very detailed records of their military operations and none mention an attack on Roanoke. So while they did know about this location and they have motive, nothing ever suggests that they actually did do that.
Yeah. Well,
other than motive.
And also there's no struggle.
No struggle.
Like there was no struggle to prove that anybody I don't know. You don't have time to break your house down.
Yeah.
And put it all away neatly and nicely.
If it's something like that.
If somebody's coming in to invade you and take you away, you just...
That's not how that works.
Mm-mm.
No.
I don't think in any way in that time. If somebody's coming to invade you, they're coming to invade you. They're not going to be like, okay, we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah.
So if you want to do the easy way, just go ahead and do it. No, they're coming in, they're taking your shit and they're taking you and they're getting the hell out.
Yeah, they're killing you and setting shit on fire.
Yeah.
That's literally fire. Was
right.
The number one answer, I feel like. Death and fire.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel that. But maybe the colonists did split into groups and several theories are true at once. Like I just said, maybe they did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Maybe some joined the Croatoan tribe, maybe some were killed, maybe some tried to sail away, and maybe some just died to the land itself. But here's the theories that our listeners would love.
Mm-hmm.
The strange ones, the folklore, the supernatural, the stories that take Roanoke from a historical mystery to a full-blown American legend. So one of the most chilling theories connects the disappearance of the colonists to indigenous spiritual lore, specifically the presence of forest beings or elemental spirits similar in nature to what tribes describe as a Wendigo. So while the Wendigo is most famously associated with the Algonquin tribes in the northern regions, the broader concept exists across many indigenous cultures. It is a being born from hunger, imbalance, desperation, and the breaking of unnatural laws. These spirits aren't simply monsters, they are warnings. They represent what happens when humanity pushes too far into territory it does not understand, or when survival crosses spiritual boundaries they should never be broken. In many stories, forest spirits become active when the environment itself is wounded, during drought, famine, harsh winters, or when newcomers disrespect the land's balance. And in the late 1580s, Roanoke experienced one of the worst droughts in centuries. The tree, which I mentioned, the tree ring records. I can't talk today. I need one of Joey's phones. Please, for the love of everything, get me one. It's almost Christmas. But so they went through a really bad drought. They also did cause a lot of damage to things around them. So that kind of scarcity is exactly the environment where a Wendigo would emerge, where hunger and spiritual things and physical things all combine. Some storytellers believe the colonists, weakened and starving, may have unknowingly violated practices or sacred areas that they did not understand. And Roanoke Island itself was viewed by local tribes as a spiritually active place where the veil was thin and spirits walked freely. To them, the land was alive, and if the English disrespected it by cutting down trees improperly, taking resources without asking, or disturbing sacred spaces, it may have invited consequences they did not know, did not see or understand.
Ooh.
In these legends, forest entities often start subtly. First comes a sense of being watched, then the strange sounds in the trees like clicking, whispering, or distant cries that mimic human voices. Animals start to behave differently, people get sick or paranoid or start wandering into the woods alone, lured by something only they can hear. A Wendigo-like entity isn't always described as a physical creature, sometimes it's just known as a force, something that causes people to turn on one another, lose their sanity, or become consumed by fear. These colonists were isolated, starving, dehydrated, and surrounded by land they did not understand. If even a few of them began experiencing hallucinations, paranoia, or violent hunger due to famine, sickness, or environmental toxins, indigenous lore would interpret this as a spirit taking hold. There's also a darker version that something could have lured them into the forest. Into the first. Dude, eat my ass. Something could have lured them into the freaking woods, one by one or in small groups, using voices that sounded like loved ones. Why did I say that?
I did a first.
First. That's not even like a Texan accent. What is that? That's not even the Deep South. I don't know what that was. I'm done. Would you like to read for the rest of the day?
No.
Me neither, honestly. Many indigenous stories describe entities that mimic human speech or cries for help and draw people away from the safety of their community. The disappearance of entire groups is not unheard of in these legends. When a forest spirit is angered or when a wendigo is born from hunger, it can consume whole villages, leaving no trace.
They just like eat the whole people whole?
I guess. I don't know. The one out of Supernatural, they just like lured them all and then had them in a cave, and some of them were dead and some of them were still alive. It was like their energy source for the next until more people come.
Interesting.
It's one of the theories that blends the historical with the supernatural in a way that feels kind of unsettling because the colonists were experiencing the exact conditions that would breed a spirit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So whether the force was whether the force was literal, metaphorical, or psychological, the idea is the same. Something in the woods consumed them. I don't like that one. Another eerie and surprisingly scientific theory suggests that something inside the colony turned the settlers against one another. This idea is often called the zombie theory. Do you believe in that?
No. But let's hear it.
So it's actually about parasites, molds, toxins, and starvations that can cause human minds to do some weird things. So there are real documented fungi and diseases that cause people to hallucinate, become paranoid, lose their sense of reality, or act with violent, erratic behavior. In the 1500s, the colonists would have had no understanding of infections, toxins, or neurological illnesses. They would have interpreted what they were experiencing as madness, witchcraft, or spiritual punishment. One possibility is ergot poisoning, which is a toxic fungus that grows on grains like rye. Historically, ergot has caused outbreaks of mass hysteria, convulsions, hallucinations, and violent behavior. It's been linked to everything from dancing plagues of Europe to the theories about the Salem witch trials. It is one of the things, like the witch trials, a lot of historians try and tie back to this, that they all had eaten like a bad batch of rye and they were all hallucinating from that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. You didn't know that? That's one of like the more popular theories on the Salem witch trials, is that they'd eaten a bad batch of bread, basically.
How tragic.
Yeah.
Death by carbs. Darn.
Rats.
I still just don't think, though, the fact that there's no
bodies,
but no struggle and no evidence of erratic behavior, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like things would be a little bit
there'd be something
scattered, or, I don't know.
Blood somewhere, somewhere on something. Yeah. Somewhere, something, somehow. I agree.
And when did this happen in between those 3 years? Did it happen immediately after he left, or was it right before he got back? Those questions are,
heavy.
Can change
the whole viewpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know. For me, I'm still they just went with the Croatoan tribes. They just assimilated. That's where my brain's at. But, whatever. There's also another possibility. It's called prion disease. Prion disease. It's a degenerative brain disorder caused by contamination or contaminated meat or certain environmental factors. It destroys brain tissue, leading to erratic behavior, panic, confusion, and mental collapse. It can take weeks or months to show the symptoms. So even if just a handful of the colonists became infected, the results would have seemed inexplicable and frightening. And their behavior might have driven others to flee deeper into the forest or fragmented the colony into small, desperate groups struggling to know who they could trust. So again, it would break off into small groups and you wouldn't be able to find them. But there's also the theory of just cannibalism for survival. So this idea is not as far-fetched as it sounds in some historical context. Many of the earlier colonies, like Jamestown, even resorted to cannibalism during the starving time. It wasn't malicious or monstrous, it was desperate and a last resort for survival. So if the Roanoke colonists ran out of food, lost hunting grounds due to drought, or were cut off from indigenous trade because of the political tensions that they had from Lane's earlier violence, then starvation could have set in pretty quickly.
Part of me feels like maybe something crazy happened to a small group of them. Yeah. Some of them. And then the rest of them maybe were okay, we have to get out of here.
Yeah, we can't do this.
We have to go to the tribe, you know?
Yeah, we got to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that I don't think that every single person ended up in the Croatoan village. I don't believe.
I don't think that that's
tribe.
feasible.
No, I don't think that's, well, I don't know, because they did say like, so how he killed the chief. A chief is normally over 7 different groups of people, and each group is normally about 200 people. So he could have rallied up to 800 or more people if he wanted to fight back against the settlers. And so it's like they could have gotten a lot of people. So like I guess the tribes themselves normally were about 200 people or more in that area. So what's 115 into 200?
Yeah.
Like if they could make it work, maybe, if it made sense. But I don't know about all of them. But there's another fun theory. You ready?
Yeah.
It's called the alien theory.
Yes.
Aliens.
Aliens.
So while this theory does sound dramatic and it usually gets dismissed with an eye roll, it persists for one reason, and it's because of the word Croatoan. So that word shows up in a bunch of mysterious disappearances throughout history. One of the most famous examples is Carol A. Deering, a ghost ship found on the coast of North Carolina in 1921. The ship was discovered intact, with navigation equipment still there, food in the galley, beds slept in, but the entire crew had vanished. Rescue teams searched every island and inlet. No bodies were ever found. One of the only clues was that the ship had planned to stop near the area that was historically tied to the Croatoan name and legend, and modern storytellers connect the Deering mystery to Roanoke, suggesting the same force that took the colonists may have taken the crew centuries later. And then there's Edgar Allan Poe. In 1849, just before he died under bizarre and unexplained circumstances, Poe reportedly whispered the word Croatoan. No one knows why. He was delirious, stumbling through Baltimore, wearing someone else's clothes with no memory of the last several days of his life. People later speculated that he encountered the same phenomena, or possibly referencing a story or message we still don't understand. The word also appeared scrawled in the diary of Amelia Earhart. According to a French but persistent legend...
What? That's crazy. That just blowed my mind.
Blowed my mind. I can tell. It blowed it?
Yeah.
I understand.
All the way.
A story that her plane went down near an island with strange carvings that included the same word. The part is almost certainly folklore, but folklore always starts somewhere. In high strangeness circles, there's a theory that Roanoke sits on or near a window area, which is a place where the veil between worlds is thinner or where extraterrestrial or interdimensional activity has occurred repeatedly. These are locations where people vanish without a trace, where lights appear in the sky, and where compasses and electronics malfunction, almost like the Bermuda Triangle. And Roanoke Island, with its history of magnetic anomalies, strange lights over the water, and absence of any human remains, fits the pattern uncannily well. Supporters of this theory believe the colonists may have witnessed something in the sky, something that they could not explain, and that whatever took them did so swiftly and completely. A sudden mass disappearance with no bodies, no signs of struggle, and no indicators of violence lines up disturbingly well with some of the modern abduction accounts. The fact that the village was dismantled neatly could mean they prepared to follow something willingly or were relocated before anyone could know what happened. So they could have already moved their village before any of that happened.
Okay.
So
I like that. I don't hate that theory. Only because aliens, first of all, aliens. But the different little like
pieces of it everywhere.
Yeah,
how
I
it ties
didn't
into a bunch of
know
different
that.
stuff. I did not either. Or like the Amelia Earhart thing, I had never heard that.
I haven't either. I did a project on my girl. That's my girl.
I remember that. That was in like elementary school.
I dressed up as her and everything.
I feel like I remember that. So did Tina Belcher on a Bob's Burgers episode. She did like it was really good.
Like a living museum. That's what ours was.
I don't remember what it is. It was good though.
Where you just like everybody dressed up as like a historical figure, and they had like a little like script, and then we all lined up in the cafeteria, just rows and rows of us.
Oh, no.
And like the parents and like people would come through and they would walk up to you, and then you would give your little spiel.
Oh no, I like it like that. That's how a lot of my so I don't know how I have a podcast. I do not like public speaking. I can do it. I'm good at it if I have to. Don't want to. But a lot of our projects in college were like that, where like you would just hang up on the wall and people would come and you had to like grab their attention and get them to talk to you. truly falls into marketing. Position yourself by the door, position yourself by the bathroom, entrance, exit, or by food, and people will come to you.
Period.
So, yeah. But I like it like that more because you actually get to like,
yeah.
And you can read what the person's liking. So then you can edit your story to them a little bit and not just have to give like a whole spill to everybody and just give like a generic
thing over
spill.
and over.
Yeah.
Love that.
Love it.
But that's weird. The little pieces of it kind of sprinkled throughout.
Yeah, I'd never.
Is there a theory? Not a theory. Isn't there like where it's carved? Isn't it spelled wrong or something?
I'm not sure.
I feel like I've heard that, unless I'm just making that up.
Maybe you're thinking of the part that just said CRO.
CRO.
And I did have to look that up. I was like, so was it just CRO or was it Croatoan in full? And it said it was both. So I was like, which one is it? Because I've heard just the tree. I've heard just the post. And it said both whenever I looked it up.
So interesting.
Yeah. I also looked up, is there a way to tie like any DNA evidence back to this at all? And I didn't actually read what ChatGPT told me because I got distracted because I have ADD or ADHD. But that's something that could be looked up.
Yeah. Hello. Somebody smarter than us. Get with the program.
Well, the hard thing is there is no DNA evidence for like back then. But you have to think about when we do our ancestries now, it'll be like, yeah, you're from Norwegian area right here. So there's got to be some sort of DNA that ties you back to there. Like there's got to be some sort of, I don't know if it would tie you back to there or if it would tie you back just to England entirely. So.
Yeah.
But they should have known the people who went there.
Right.
Somebody, smarter than us
Somebody smarter than us get going with that. Thank you.
So then I looked up, okay, well, is the area where they believed Roanoke was, is it haunted? Like, is there any weird stuff that goes on? And this is what I got. So even though historians debate the fate of the lost colony, locals around Roanoke Island have always claimed that the land itself still remembers what happened there. Long after the colonists vanished, strange activity continued to echo across the island, enough that Roanoke has earned a reputation as one of the most quietly haunted places on the East Coast. Many people who visit the site today, especially around dusk or in the heavy marsh fog, often describe a deep sense of being watched. So rangers who work near the reconstructed fort, because there is like a reconstructed area where they say it was probably here. And then all these other people come in and are like, no, it's probably here. It's probably here. There's a lot of different places where people actually think it probably was. And
why don't we know? There was a map.
Yeah, but there was also people who were like, yeah, well, like 400 years ago, you have to think of how much further the coastline was and things like that.
Fair.
So anyways, near the reconstructed fort, the air feels colder inside the tree line and there's a type of silence that doesn't feel natural. It's the kind that presses in on your ears and makes you notice your own breathing.
Ew.
That's the feeling we both got at that house in Georgia. So I understand that entirely. When your ears like go silent and all you can hear is like your being and you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like you can feel and hear your fucking blood running through your veins.
Yeah, you're like, oh. Suddenly I'm a vampire. But many believe the spirits of the missing settlers still linger there. People who walk on the trails near the settlement site have reported soft whispering in the woods, footsteps pacing behind them, and faint voices drifting through the trees even though no one else is around. Some describe seeing quick movements like shadows slipping between the pines or glimpses of figures in old-fashioned clothing that vanish as soon as they're noticed. At night, people say the sound becomes even stranger. Fishermen have watched unexplained lights drift across the water like lanterns carried from invisible boats. Others swear they've seen pale silhouettes standing in the surf looking back toward the island as if searching for someone. And the eeriness goes even deeper than that. Long before the English arrived, indigenous tribes believed Roanoke Island held spiritual power, like I've already mentioned. The land was considered the place where the veil was. So oral traditions from them describe shapeshifters, light anomalies. I think I just had a stroke. Light anomalies and beings that could lure people into the trees.
That I believe. I believe that place is probably very eerie.
Eerie, yeah.
Lots of weird energy there.
And I don't know if you've ever like even looked at where it is, but it's still just an island of like just like dense forest and sand. Like there's not really like, I don't even know where you would build. And you think of what places like that. Do you know how dark it is at nighttime when you're in places like that? Like, screw that. I'd be scared too.
Hell no.
But yeah, so basically Roanoke is unsettling because it has all the ingredients of a haunting mystery. Hope, struggle, conflict, political tension, environmental disaster, and then a disappearance so complete that no definitive answers have ever resurfaced. It's a story of human vulnerability, of cultures clashing, of survival pushed to its limits. And because nothing has was ever resolved, the colony has become a canvas for every kind of theory, historical, supernatural, conspiratorial, and everything in between. It's America's most original unsolved case, and centuries later, it still refuses to close. For me, I just think they went with the Croatoan tribe. I've said it like 1,000 times, but I just think that makes sense.
It does make the most sense. It sounds the most logical.
Yeah, or I like the idea I'll take part from the alien theory, but maybe that they did just move somewhere else and continued to live on somewhere else alone, even. Like, because I don't feel like people really went looking for them again. I looked it up. I said, okay, so after this, when did the next town start? And it was Jamestown in like 1607 or something like that. So 17 years later or something.
I don't know. It seems like it there is like a strange energy that's probably there, because I believe in like those like hotspot areas and things like that, like the Bermuda Triangle and stuff. Like, that's if your compass isn't working and like things like that, like there's something like electromagnetically off there, which can breed, weird energies. Yeah. But I do think that probably maybe some things were happening. Maybe a couple of people disappeared and people were just like going missing and they didn't know what was happening to them. And then they were probably like, well, we got to get out of here, but like, should we wait for John to come back? Like, what do we do? Like, the fact that there was no like communication, which I know it's not as easy back then, but like,
but they did write Croatoan, which is all he asked. He said, if you move, let me know where.
Yeah. But then why couldn't he find them there? Because the ship
he never got to go back.
Take him.
Yeah. Yeah, he never got to go back.
It's so frustrating.
And there's because I watched a few different like historical episodes. One of them said that in his diary, it seemed like he was like, yeah, they're in Croat. Like, he knew where they went. He just couldn't get there. And so I think that's ultimately where he landed too. He just never got the full yes or no on that's where they are. But I do believe in like the weird places. And I don't remember what show it is. I don't remember if it's American Horror Story. I don't remember if it's Sleepy Hollow. When I watched Sleepy Hollow, I don't remember what it was. And I don't remember if it's about Jamestown or if it's about Roanoke. But it was like they were able to walk back in time. Basically, like they walked through a blip and all the people were still living there in the village, but they were like really sick. But they were able to see how they were still living in the village, and then they walked through a blip and then turned around and you couldn't see it anymore. And so it was almost like a weird blip in time situation.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's a theory. I don't remember what that was or where I watched it or if it was even about that or if it was about Jamestown. Because I don't remember what happens with Jamestown either. I don't know if it becomes successful or if it had issues also.
Oh, don't ask me.
I don't remember. I'm going to have to look, but.
Well, I remember there was, I was trying to like rack my brain to remember what the American Horror Story season was about. And because they did a Roanoke season and I watched like the first 2 episodes and I couldn't get into it. So I don't even remember like what it all like.
I know I watched it, but I don't remember it either.
What their take on it was. Yeah.
I honestly don't remember either. I know I watched it though, but I thought it was tied to like, is it not the one where it was like a modern family though? Like living in a house that was where it had been? Was it not a couple? And then it was like, but it was, I don't remember. Yeah,
they were living in a house and like weird stuff was happening. And I remember there was like a scene with like a hot tub and that's about it.
Oh. I don't remember.
But it was like an old house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. But they were getting, okay. Yeah, I kind of remember that. I don't know what happened out of their theory either. Maybe that's where I'm getting this idea from, is some random thing.
Yeah.
But there's also like, with how they had to like merge with the indigenous people or come around the indigenous people, the colonists took a lot of diseases, which continued to happen for years and years and years. But they said that it tied back into how the Puritans believed, like how I said, like they didn't know what it was. So they just were like, y'all are bad people. God put you, like, this is your fault. And like, this is God warning us to stay away from you, kind of, because so many Native Americans were getting like smallpox and dying from it. It was wiping out their whole villages.
Yeah.
But the colonists, a lot of them had been around it so much, they were like immune to it at this point in time. And so it wasn't affecting them. But the Native Americans knew it was something from them. And so they were like, this is your fault. So I don't know if the Croatoans would even take them in.
Right. Yeah.
That's where it's like a weird, who really knows? I mean, for me, I still think that some of them at least went to the Croatoans.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about how many people in later times, they just assimilated with the Native American cultures. Like they just became a part of that as well.
Yeah. I think it's probably the most logical.
Yeah. I like the alien theory though, or like the weird like Wendigo energy, life suction situations.
The theories that make it seem a lot more mystical.
Poopies.
Yeah.
Poopy kiwi.
Poopy scary.
Pookie kiwi.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we end today's Thanksgiving episode, I wanted to just do a couple things that we're just like thankful for.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
I don't care.
Okay. I'm thankful for the growth of the podcast and the community that we're building with it. And it still blows my mind that something that just started like us just being silly together has like turned up like this. And I think it's crazy that we have people who come like week after week to listen to us and send us stories and message us. And it's awesome. And it feels like a really cool blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels right.
I am also thankful for obviously the podcast itself. But I'm thankful for the time that we have to do the podcast, even though sometimes it seems like we don't have all the time in the world. But not only that for the podcast, but the time that you and I have gotten to spend together over the last year has been absolutely incredible for me.
Shut up. That's my number 3.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely my favorite. I'm very, very thankful for it.
I've had to tell someone that. They were like, do you love the podcast? And I was like, I really like that. I should get to hang out with Shay.
Yeah.
Like we actually get to hang out again.
Every week, multiple times a week,
which
we could have done that before. But like,
it was just life.
Yeah.
And now you built this into your life to where it's like, oh, we get to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually my number 3. I said, I'm thankful for Shay. The podcast brought us closer than we've been in years, and getting to create something with her, something that's ours, has been one of the sweetest surprises.
It has been.
And that's what I put.
So fun.
How cute of us.
I know. I was just to kind of like piggyback off that a little bit. So my parents are moving still. They're still getting stuff out of the old house. Well, all of my stuff is there also. And I found a box that was stuff out of my old room from like 2010.
Oh, wow.
And the pictures and the stuff, like there's so many horrible pictures of Landry and I. I found 2 cameras with the camera cards still in them. Also multiple photos of Landry and I. Horrible. I found an old phone, my old Samsung touchscreen phone that was like this big. Found it, plugged it in, charged it. The thing works. Scrolled through all those photos.
No.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't even want to know. We were together, like, clearly we were sisters, but our parents got divorced when we were like 12, 13, 11. I don't know. And we stayed together after that, but like got even closer in high school. So say like 9th grade, probably, we were together all the time. Up until like
the time.
Up until senior year when you started dating Damien and things just, like, you kind of, life.
Yeah.
And then I went away for college, and then we just, I don't know. We talked, but we never like hung out again really. But literally just life. Like it's just that, like I was working in an office from freaking 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I was in Fort Worth. So I had to drive an hour there and drive an hour home, and I didn't want to do anything. And on my weekends I was sleeping. Like there ain't no damn way.
Yeah.
And so like life got in the way, and I'm happy that this brought us back.
Yeah. It's great. It's the best part.
It really is so cool. That's like whenever people ask, I'm like, yeah.
I get to be my sister.
Yeah, we get to have fun again and be ridiculous together.
Yes.
Ridiculous together.
Yes.
And yeah, the only other thing I have on here is just like, I'm thankful for my husband and my like new creative path that I'm forging, because my husband is supporting me in everything I'm doing. And I'm just kind of going out on a whim and doing things for myself and doing the podcast full time basically, and starting to kind of do like content creation and like vlogging and things like that. So just, I'm happy that I'm getting to do something that actually makes me feel happy.
Something that excites you, and you like have the support for that. Yeah.
I have a very supportive husband, and it's just nice.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for him that he supports everything that I'm doing. And he's honestly been one of the biggest supporters for the podcast too. Like he's been a huge support.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because every time he has an idea, I'm like, that's a horrible idea. You do not need to do that. And then I have a idea and he's like, yeah, babe, go for it.
You're like, that sounds great. And then you think about it, you're like, God, that's a terrible idea. Is he like actually supporting me, or is he just like not listening?
He just doesn't listen. Yeah. I'm like, you should tell me that's a horrible idea. But yeah, I'm just thankful for a lot, I guess, in life. There's a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we all get carried away in our day-to-day life of being like, oh my God, we're tired, or this is this, or this is this. But I do appreciate Thanksgiving. I'm not a huge like I don't do a lot for Thanksgiving. Like I go hang out and eat food and stuff, but I do always like to reflect on things that I am super thankful for. And I do appreciate that we have a time of the year where we all have to stop and think about things like that.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I'm also thankful for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So many things I could probably rattle off.
That's really at night when I lay down and I'm like trying to go to bed. I'm like, thank you for life. Thank you for this. Like, I don't really think I ask a lot. I think I'm more thankful, and I try and find like the good and the bad, I guess. And I normally am a pretty like anxious person, but I'm pretty good at being like, oh, well, this happened because of this, and we need to find the good in it, and we need to be thankful for that. Or like even when we went on our trip and we rotated 5 hotel rooms in one night and it was a disaster. And when we finally got into our room, it was a queen size bed, and Aaron's side of the bed had a hole in it that was missing a chunk of mattress. And I was like, I had every opportunity to lay down that night and be like, this is insane. But instead I actually went to sleep like feeling gratitude. I was like, we need to be thankful that we could switch hotel rooms. Thankful that we were able to switch our plan and go to Six Flags instead of driving around a city. Like thankful that we're together, thankful we're here. And so like, Aaron was irritated too. And I was like, we just have to like be thankful for that.
Just
like,
be positive. Yeah.
Grateful that we could even do this, because there's a lot of people who wish they could be doing things like this, and we can. So we have to be thankful for that.
Amen.
So thank you all for being here.
We're thankful for you, because obviously we wouldn't be able to do this without.
Yeah. And we hit 10,000 followers on TikTok.
Finally!
We're at like 10,000. Yes. We're at 10.2K right now.
Haven't even looked.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Blessed.
We were sitting at like 9,400 for a while. And,
the last I looked like 2 days ago. Yep. Dang, you guys are so cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. But I feel like most of the people who are on our TikToks are actually going over to YouTube to listen.
Yay. Good.
Don't bother me.
Yeah. That's good.
But thank you all for being here and listening to us rant and listening to me not be able to read or talk or.
And we're just here existing. So,
I think it's cool that you like want to listen to us.
Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Send us your stories at sistersofthestrangepodcast@gmail.com. Get on our Discord. It's fun. Follow us on TikTok. Get what y'all are already doing. Y'all are doing incredible. And don't forget that we're not going to be here on Thursday. We're going to be celebrating our Thanksgiving with our families, and I'll be at work. So, woo!
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. And we'll see you guys next week with 2 fresh new episodes.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Hoopla!
Hoopla!
Okay, bye!
Bye!